Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hisham Tilawi. Well, we are in our new studios. This is the first show using the new studios. That's why you see the background is a little bit different than the old background. So the old background is probably history now. We like it. We like the lighting in it. Probably we can use a little bit more, but it's perfect. At least it's cool and soft, and it is not hot on one side and dark on the other side. So I think we are getting there. So it's beautiful studios in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. It's we're happy. We're very happy. So we thank all those who are responsible for building these new studios and the great staff of AOC who actually made the transition from the old studios to the new studios look easy and simple. Of course, it was not. It was very difficult, but it happened and we did not have any interruptions in service. So we thank all of those who are responsible for the new studios. We thank you. And of course, we thank our viewers who have been with us for a long, long time. We thank you. We thank you for putting up with us all these years. But we hope that you are actually getting a benefit out of our broadcast. As you know, Current Issues have been on the air for a while now, probably about 9 years, or 10. But we're not saying goodbye. We're just saying we're happy with the new studios, and we will be with you, God's will, until until we decide we can no longer do it. But we thank you, our viewers and our supporters. We thank you for all the years that you have been with us, and we are looking for many, many years to come. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to understand what happened in Libya. As you know, we talked last time about the death of Muammar Gaddafi. Well, today we are going to continue talking about Muammar Gaddafi and talking about Libya. Hopefully, you might understand what is happening better. And I guarantee you, right here in Lafayette, Louisiana, the rest of the country envies you because you are here. You have AOC, where you have wonderful programming to bring you the truth, like our program, Current Issues. And there are some good programs also, the station broadcast, that actually brings you the truth. So you are blessed here because you do have the support of the community. And the community is what actually makes this broadcast and others possible. So you should feel lucky, and you should feel lucky that we actually live in a city of tolerance where it doesn't matter what your opinion is, it is welcomed and it is protected. That is what's important. And that's what democracy is. That's one part of democracy. That is not the whole thing about democracy, but democracy is for you to say what's on your mind without someone coming and telling you you can't say that. Of course, there are some community standards, etc., that you have to uphold, and there are certain things that you cannot say on the air. You cannot threaten anyone on the air, but you can tell the truth as you see it. It's your truth. It doesn't have to be somebody else's truth. And everybody does not have to actually agree with you. That's what the beauty of it. But they're listening, and you never know when your words will actually change minds. What we want to do with Current Issues TV and what we have been doing, we tell you things the way we see it, and we tell you, don't believe us, go search it. Go research it. Right now, the internet, you have no reason not to. And you have no reason to be just sitting at home, watching your TV and letting people like Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly actually dictate to you how to think and dictate to you and lie to you about what is going on in the world. Now, whenever we want to kill somebody, we demonize them. And we, meaning not you and I, but we meaning the United States and its policies. As you know, our foreign policy have been hijacked, as we have been proven to you, not just telling you, but proven to you that it has been hijacked by people who should not be there. But they are there, they are controlling your mind and others. But we are here to say to you that you can count on us. We will bring you the truth, and at least we're going to bring you a different angle of the truth that makes you sit and say, if we can get that out of you, I think we have accomplished our mission. Then the rest is up to you to understand what is behind the news. Now, some of you might say, I care less about what's going on behind the news because it's not touching me. Well, don't wait until it touches you, because it's too late. If you wait until the news touches you, it's too late. As it is too late for many people around the world, that they are, what you are watching on your television stations and what you are listening to on your radios, actually stuff that happened throughout the world. It is too late for those people. I mean, if we are bombing Afghanistan, yeah, it makes the news. Maybe you don't care about it, but those who are under fire care about it. So don't wait until the news touches you personally to care. We should care because our money, our badly needed money, is going out there to actually kill people. So you should care. But Gaddafi has or was in Libya, governing Libya for 42 years. Now, we call him a dictator, we call him a madman, everybody call him different names, but the man actually ruled Libya for 42 years. What was Libya before Gaddafi, and what is Libya today? Well, not today, but let's say 8 months ago, because 8 months ago, that's when war started. That's when the United States bombed Libya. That's when NATO, and that is just a cover for European countries, mainly those with jet fighters, etc., like France, England, Germany. That's what actually liberated Libya. It was not those people, but they don't tell you that on CNN and Sean Hannity. They show you these little guys with guns in the streets of Libya, and they tell you these are the people who actually liberated it, and they killed that horrible dictator. So we, the United States, have demonized, and the media, see, the media works together with the powers that be. The powers that be are those people in control of your life, and they decide if you are to live or die, just like they are deciding who lives and who dies. The plan to attack Libya did not happen 8 months ago. It was planned over 10 years ago. It was planned before 9/11. But definitely we know about it after 9/11. Like 10 days after 9/11, General Wesley Clark, you've seen General Wesley Clark on TV. I think the last election he wanted to jump in, but he jumped out quickly because his opinion is not welcomed in the circles of power. This is a man who thinks, even though he's 4-star general, but somehow, I call him the naive general. How could somebody be in power for that long? He's a good man, by the way. He's a good man, but to me he's naive because he could not understand why the United States wants to go and attack Iraq. That means all he did in his life was mainly military and did not bother to know what the politicians were working on. But I guess he concentrated on military. That's why he made it to be the supreme commander of NATO. And also he was the commander in the Kosovo, during the Kosovo War. Before we get into Gaddafi, we are going to just show you a little clip by General Wesley Clark where he tells us when the actual decision, when it was made to remove Gaddafi and to end his reign in power in Libya. So let's go ahead and watch this little clip, and then we will come back. Listen to some of the names that you will be hearing in that little clip, because we're going to come back. And some of these names, you know, if you have been watching this program in the last 10 years, we have talked about them and we told you who these people are. We're going to tell you again that the plan to destroy Libya was not taken a year ago, and it was not the people of Libya who made that decision. It was the United States of America who made that decision. Let's play.
What happened in 9/11 is we didn't have a strategy, we didn't have bipartisan agreement, we didn't have American understanding of it, and we had instead a policy coup in this country. A coup. A policy coup. Some hard-nosed people took over the direction of American policy, and they never bothered to inform the rest of us. I went through the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. I couldn't stay away from Mother Army. I went back there to see Don Rumsfeld. I'd worked for him as a White House fellow in the 1970s. All this is in the book. And I said, am I doing okay on CNN? He said, yeah, fine. He said, I'm thinking about it. He says, I read your book, and he said, this is a book that talks about the Kosovo campaign. And he said, I just want to tell you, he said, nobody's going to tell us where or when we can bomb. Nobody. He said, I'm thinking of calling this a floating coalition. What do you think about that? I said, well, sir, thanks for reading my book. And, he said, thanks, that's all the time I've got. Really? And I went downstairs. I was leaving the Pentagon, and an officer from the Joint Staff called me into his office and said, I want you to know, he said, sir, we're going to attack Iraq. And I said, why? He said, we don't know. He said, I said, well, did they tie Saddam to 9/11? He said, no. He said, but I guess they don't know what to do about terrorism, and so they think, but they can attack states, and they want to look strong, and so I guess they think if they take down a state, it will intimidate the terrorists. And you know, it's like that old saying, he said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem has to be a nail. Well, I walked out of there pretty upset. And then we attacked Afghanistan. I was pretty happy about that. We should have. And then I came back to the Pentagon about 6 weeks later. I saw the same officer. I said, why haven't we attacked Iraq? We still going to attack Iraq? He said, oh, sir. He says, it's worse than that. He said, he pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. He said, because I want to talk about it. And I sat on this information for a long time, for about 6 or 8 months. I was so stunned by this, I couldn't begin to talk about it. And I couldn't believe it would really be true, but that's actually what happened. These people took control of the policy in the United States. And I realized then, it came back to me, a 1991 meeting I had with Paul Wolfowitz. You know, in 2001 he was Deputy Secretary of Defense, but in 1991 he was the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. It's the number 3 position in the Pentagon. And I had gone to see him when I was a 1-star general. I was commanding the National Training Center. I had met him one time. He said, if you ever get to Washington, come look me up. They always say that. Well, I was there in Washington. It was a Friday afternoon. I'd visited Colin Powell. He'd given me 5 minutes of his precious time and sent me on my way, and I was bored in the Pentagon, and I thought, I'll just go, who can I see? I think I'll see Wolfowitz. So I called, and up there he was available. Scooter Libby came to the door. I met Scooter for the first time, and he brought me in, and I said to Paul, I said, and this is 1991, I said, Mr. Secretary, you must be pretty happy with the performance of the troops in Desert Storm. And he said, well, yeah, he said, but not really. He said, because the truth is we should have gotten rid of Saddam Hussein, and we didn't. And this was just after the Shia uprising in March of 91, which we had provoked, and then we kept our troops on the sidelines and didn't intervene. And he said, but one thing we did learn, he said, we learned that we can use our military in the region, in the Middle East, and the Soviets won't stop us. He said, and we've got about 5 or 10 years to clean up those old Soviet client regimes. Syria, Iran, Iraq, before the next great superpower comes on to challenge us. And it was like, you know, I'm coming out of the Mojave Desert. I've been training troops. I haven't been thinking geostrategy for some time. And suddenly a guy just sort of shoves this nugget at you. Well, you remember it. It was a pretty stunning thing. You mean the purpose of the military is to start wars and change governments? It's not to sort of deter conflict? We're going to invade countries? And, you know, my mind was spinning. And I put that aside. It was like a nugget that you hold on to. This country was taken over by a group of people with a policy coup. Wolfowitz and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and you could name a half dozen other collaborators from the Project for a New American Century. They wanted us to destabilize the Middle East, turn it upside down, make it under our control. It went back to those comments in 1991. Now, did anybody ever tell you that? Was there a national dialogue on this? Did senators and congressmen stand up and denounce this plan? Was there a full-fledged American debate on it? Absolutely not. And there still isn't. And that's why we're failing in Iraq. Because Iran and Syria know about the plan. All you have to do is read the Weekly Standard and listen to Bill Kristol, and he blabbermouths it all over the world. Richard Pearl the same way. They could hardly wait to finish Iraq so they could move into Syria. It was like a laydown. Oh, our legions are going to go in there. This wasn't what the American people voted George Bush into office. Well, they didn't actually vote him into office, but it wasn't what many of the people who...
Okay. Well, we have been, in the last 10 years, talking about exactly the same thing that he talked about, the same names he mentioned. Remember I told you, I said, just listen to some of the names he's going to mention. Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Pearl, of course, Cheney and Rumsfeld, you know them. But Richard Pearl and Paul Wolfowitz, the reason I want you to pay close attention to their names, because they are part of a group of Zionists, mainly Jewish, who have formed a group, and they called for the disruptions that you are seeing in the Middle East. They wanted this because it was good for Israel. Now, he said something else. He said, you know, they hijacked. This is a 4-star general. This is someone who served the country. This is someone who spent most of his life in the military. He told you they hijacked the policy. It was a coup. And they took over the policy when George Bush actually became President of the United States. George Bush the son. Now, we told you for many years, we told you about the clean break document that was written specifically for Israel, and it was specifically written for Benjamin Netanyahu. In it, they call for the destruction of Iraq and Saddam Hussein. In it, they call for new Middle East. In that document, and who wrote that document? Go look it up. Clean break. Just put clean break. Go see the names. See the names that you are going to see. And also go look up another document that General Wesley Clark actually mentioned, and a document that we always mentioned on this program, Project for New American Century. Go see who wrote it. You will find the names of Richard Pearl and Paul Wolfowitz among those names. You will see many names that you will recognize they were also in the first George Bush administration. They started the dominoes effect to what you are seeing now, because what you are seeing now was actually the resultant of what took place in Iraq after we went in there, destroyed Iraq. Now, what was the reason we used for Iraq? Because after 9/11, number one, we said that Saddam had something to do with 9/11. You believed it. The media believed it. Well, actually, the media knew better, but the media lied to you and you believed it. And then they came back and started saying about weapons of mass destruction. They started talking about the evil man, the evil doer, and you believed them because that's how you are. You very much believe those people who talk to you from CNN and Fox, and you think that's the truth. It was not the truth. But give American people a couple of weeks to demonize someone, and all of a sudden they hate him, just like you hated Gaddafi. Now, even though Gaddafi, you did not hate him until the last 6 months, because the media told you this was a bad man. This was a man who actually killed his own people. We need to go there and protect the civilians in Libya. But they did not tell you that just 6 months before, his son was meeting at the State Department. He was received by Hillary Clinton. We have a picture of him being received by Hillary Clinton in the State Department. His son Mu'tasim, the same son that died actually with Muammar Gaddafi the day he died. Do we have a picture of Mu'tasim there that we can? Here we go, thank you. And so this is him. He died actually with his father the same day his father died. He was received as a statesman by no one but Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Gaddafi himself. I mean, look at Muammar Gaddafi. You know, these are the men who killed him. And I'll tell you what, there's 3 of them actually standing right there, and the 4th one too, the Italian guy. But starting with Obama, then you have the British guy, or is that the Russian guy? That looks like the Russian guy. Then you have Sarkozy, and then you have the Italian Prime Minister. Now, this man was a statesman, Muammar Gaddafi, that he can actually stand with these guys, but then 6 months later or a year later, he's no good, he has to die by the same men. Now, why wasn't he bad when this picture was taken with Obama? Now, let's see how the reaction was actually from our State Department, Hillary Clinton. Let's see how the reaction when she heard about Muammar being captured and then his death, how she reacted to that. Now, I want you to listen to what she says and see her reaction, and keep in mind that she was in Libya about a day and a half before he actually was murdered by, you know, his convoy. As we told you last week, his convoy was bombed by NATO. That's us, the French, the Italians, the British, everybody. They bombed his convoy there in the city of Sirte. And then I guess they got out and started running, and he was caught and, of course, murdered at close range. But I guess the orders were to make sure we don't want another Saddam Hussein to go on TV, and we're not going to parade this guy on TV so he can tell the world exactly what's happening, because, you know, he tried to tell the world what was happening in the last General Assembly, not this one, but the one before, where he told the world what he thought about the Kennedy assassinations, what he thought about 9/11. So this man has a lot of secrets that he wanted to tell the world, but unfortunately, he was not kept alive so he can tell us, of course, tell us something that we already know. But when it comes from head of state with all the resources that he had, definitely we know that it is something to be believable. But let's go play those couple of spots with Hillary Clinton and what she thought about the way she reacted. I want you to listen to when she says, we came, we saw, he died. Let's do it.
Tomorrow. Thanks.
Wow. Huh.
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Yeah.
That's for this
Unconfirmed.
conversation.
No.
What up?
Unconfirmed reports about Gaddafi being captured. Unconfirmed. Yeah. We've had too many. We've had a bunch of those before. We've had, you know, have had him captured a couple of times.
Tomorrow. Thanks.
So, I mean, that is
What's going on? Can you come back to me? Okay. Try to play that video again, because actually that's the video that I wanted to show you. Can you play that one more time? Just the second one? No? Okay. What is it, frozen? Okay. Well, we do have other videos that we actually like to play, so let's see if we can take care of that problem, and so we can proceed. Anyway, what she has actually done while they work this technical problem with the videos, hopefully, you know, like I said, today is the first day in new studio, and therefore, well, something is going to go wrong with a new studio, but so let's see what actually, because there is one video. The video that I was going to show you is where Hillary Clinton actually laughing and giggling at the news of Muammar Gaddafi is dead, and she said, laughing in a very horrible way, you know, this woman represents us. She represents the United States and the people of the United States. She is the Secretary of State. She's our ambassador to the world. She said laughingly, we came, we saw, he died. You know, this is a man who ruled Libya for 42 years. This is a man who has millions of followers in Libya. This is a man who has millions of followers around the world who do not see him as an evil man, as a bad man. Just like the media tried to show what the media tried to show this man, because they wanted to kill him. That's why they said he was a bad man, he was evil, he killed his people, etc., etc. You know, we do have a video that hopefully they will be able to take care of that video problem, because it's very important. We wanted to show you how the man lived in a tent, how the man worked with his family, what kind of food he ate, what kind of environment this man lived in, you know, how he was just a regular, average man who was playing with his grandchildren. You know, this man did not live in a palace. When this man took power, his country was one of the poorest countries in the world. Actually, in 1951, Libya was considered to be the poorest country in the world. He took power, I believe, back in 1968. Right now, the status of living or the style of living, the standard of living in Libya surpasses that of the United States, surpasses that of England, surpasses that of France. In Libya, you don't pay for electricity. In Libya, you don't pay for education as high as you want to be. In Libya, you don't pay for health care. You are covered. In Libya, everybody gets a paycheck if you do not work. In Libya, everybody is, they also have this thing about sharing the wealth. Actually, everybody in Libya gets a percentage deposited in his account automatically from oil revenues. But the man has to go because it was on the plan to destroy this man. The plan that that Wesley Clark talked about, the plan that we talked about for many years, the clean break plan, the strategies for Israel in the 1980s plan that we've talked about many of times, that took actually each one of those countries and said, this is what we're going to do in that country. And right now they are doing it. The project for a New American Century project, that one, put all these three documents together and you will have exactly what went on in, what's going on in the Middle East. Okay? So that is what's happening. I think they're still working on the videos. Are we going to be able to show any videos or no? Or are you guys still working on there? Okay. They're still working on it, but I have a feeling that probably they will not be able to solve the problem unless we shut down. See, that's what's bad about computers. That's you have to reboot the whole system, and of course we can't do this on live TV. So unfortunately, we might not be able to show you the videos. But so you're gonna have me here talking to you, and if they figure it out, just let me know. So anyway, the actual videos that we're going to show you, and it's not really talking to you about it. It's not. You're not gonna get the full view. So hopefully, I don't know, if we get a chance maybe next week, because it's very important. I want you to see the man who was called Muammar Gaddafi. I want you to see what he has done for his country. You know, something that our president actually, and we do have a clip with our president saying that, talking about his death and talking about, oh, the era of dictatorship is gone. You know, the man who, I guess, wasted Libya's money. Muammar Gaddafi, the way he, of course, you know, he was, for 42 years, he was the ruler of Libya. Even though he said a few years back that he resigned his position as president, he had a different system for democracy. He formed these populist committees all over the place. Everything was ran by populist committees, committees from the people. And the people ran it. It was like the true democracy. Not democracy, he did not call it democracy. It was more of a populist rule. It was the rule of the people, the actual people. It's not like you elect representative to go sit in Washington, and then here comes the bad Israelis, buy them out, and then all of a sudden we have the United States Army and the United States media actually going after people in the Middle East because Israel wants these people out. That's exactly what happened in our democracy, because it was a democracy that could be purchased by the highest bidder. It was a system that can be infiltrated by these neocons that Wesley Clark talked about, a coup. A coup is exactly what Muammar Gaddafi came to power with back in 1968. It was a monarchy ruling in Libya. And he came and made it a populous country, which is very much what it's like, the people themselves ruling. Now, why did these people like Paul Wolfowitz, who became the second man at the Pentagon in our Department of Defense. Douglas Feith, who is another Israeli, Douglas Feith, who's another Israeli, and he was at the Pentagon, and they made up all these stories about Saddam Hussein having nuclear bombs and wanting to purchase yellow cake from Niger. They've done that at the Pentagon. And then you have Richard Pearl, who was at the State Department, very much running the policy. These people are, you can call them with dual citizenships. You can say they're Israelis, Americans. But they were there at a time when Israel needed them. They were there at a time to actually perform the Israeli plan for the Middle East, because Israel has a plan, and it's called the Zionist Plan for the Middle East. Go look it up. Go look it up and you will see exactly what they planned for the Middle East. They will see what they planned for Syria, what they planned for Iraq. Now I'm talking about the Israeli plan. What they planned for Libya, what they planned for Sudan. Sudan was divided into two countries. The media here made it look like as if the government there is torturing and killing their people. Let me tell you something about dictatorship. Dictatorship, it may not be a bad deal, okay? You know, you might be sitting there saying, what? Yes, dictatorship, it may not be a bad deal for the people of that country. Saddam Hussein was a dictator, but everybody lived happy. Of course, nobody can become a president, but is that the only thing that people live for, to become president of countries? No. But anything else that Iraqis wanted, it doesn't matter if they were Muslims, if they were Christians, if they were Sunnis, if they were Shiites, if they were Arabs, if they were Kurds, they all were treated equally under the law. They all got exactly the same thing. Iraq was one of the best, technologically speaking, countries in the world. Yes, it was. Iraq was sent back to the Stone Ages. Iraq had some of the best healthcare facilities in the world. All that was destroyed. Libya, the same thing. So these dictators, Libya, this Libyan that our president says he wasted Libya's money, he built, and we showed you this on previous programs, he built a man-made river. He got water from the Sahara Desert, thousands of miles. He built a river underground to get the water from the Sahara Desert all the way. He made desert bloom. Now, does that sound like a man who wanted to kill his people or wanted the best for his people? He sent his people all over the world. Right here in the United States, you have thousands and tens of thousands of Libyans who came here to get educated, paid for by the Libyan government, lived the life of their dream here, because the Libyan government was sending them money. Now, does this sound like a guy who wants to kill his people? And then kill his people and do what? But you see, you listen to it. That's the problem, is you listen to it and you think, yeah, he's a dictator. If he wants to kill his people and then what? Rule over what? Camels? Anyway, so the fact remains, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a plan. It is bigger than you and I. A plan that has nothing to do with the United States. You see, if this has a benefit to the United States, I would say, well, you know what? Countries used to go and kill other countries and kill other societies and other civilizations because they wanted water. Okay? So they will go and take over their land, kill them, run them off the land, and take over their land because they want it. That's how they want it. Now, if I say that the United States wanted to go there and kill Iraqis for their oil, I can say, okay. But I don't think so, because the United States was getting Iraqi oil. Even under Saddam, even after they put Saddam under siege, Saddam was still happily selling oil to the United States. And the same thing with Gaddafi. It's not like Gaddafi was sending his oil somewhere else. No, he was selling it to Europe and to the United States. But there is something that is required in the Middle East right now, which is, we talked about this before, which is the Middle East has to go into chaos, total chaos. Smaller countries, divided countries, countries where the people within the countries hate each other, because what do you think is going to happen in Libya? You think just because Barack Obama got up there and said, oh, now it's the time for Libya to put their differences behind? You just murdered their man. You just murdered their son. Don't think just a few hundreds that you put out there in the streets, you sent them guns and you call them revolutionaries. Don't think they are going to be able to hold that country. It is not. Is that good for the United States? No. Muammar Gaddafi was much better for the United States than what's coming. Is Iraq better for the United States now? Of course not. Who do you think has more influence in Iraq? The country that spent $1 trillion? That's the United States, by the way. Is the country that spent $1 trillion and lost, they say, 5,000 men and women to remove Saddam Hussein? For what? For oil. We were getting the oil. But it was a requirement that Israel wanted. It was something that Israel demanded and Israel got, even though it is not to our advantage. Now, who has more say-so in Iraq? And that's the Iraqis themselves will tell you. It's Iran. It's not the United States. Now, the United States of America said that we are going to remove every soldier that we have in Iraq at the end of the year. And then what? Do what with them? I think what they are now doing, they want to remove these people out because there's something going on in Syria that the United States will definitely be involved in. And then after Syria, they're going to go after Lebanon. And after Lebanon, they've finished off, of course, Libya's finished. Somalia, there's nothing there to actually talk about. Sudan is already divided, and they're still going after it to divide it even more. And then remains Iran. Is this how we want to spend our lives? But you know what? This is not good for the United States. It is good for Israel. Because Israel, when you have all these countries in the Middle East divided, then Israel will be the strongest country in the world, and you're going to see some of these countries around them seeking their help. So you are going to squeeze Israel in the Middle East within these Arab countries because Israel could not be accepted in that region. Now you are going to force it in that region. Well, actually, they're forcing themselves in that region using you. Using your money, using your army, your military to go out there, divide their enemies, divide the countries, make them more of a superpower, and then we pay in the bill for that. We're not getting any benefit. What is the benefit that we're getting? Nothing. We're doing this job for Israel, so Israel can become a superpower, and after it becomes a superpower, then they're going to take all their money, go to Jerusalem, and rule the world, I guess, from Jerusalem, using us to accomplish. Anyway, Well, unfortunately, it looks like that we are not going to be able to show you the videos because of this little glitch that we told you about. Basically what happened, the main system froze, and they cannot unfreeze it without taking us off the air, and that's the decision that was taken, that we will stay off the air, and hopefully, definitely I want you to see this video. So next week, we will, I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week, but even if it has nothing to do with Libya, I want to show you how Muammar Gaddafi was actually living in Libya and his life, how he was living his life. The man lived in a house that was a middle-class house, house in Libya. And a middle-class house in Libya is not like middle-class houses here in the United States. No, it's much worse. And he had a big tent in front of the house where he actually received foreign dignitaries and visitors. And he also lived, there was a section where he actually lived in that tent where his family and his friends, when he wants like to just relax in the house, stretch out on sofa, play with his grandchildren, but they did not show you this picture of Gaddafi. In the last 6 months, they showed you a picture of a butcher, a picture of someone who wants to kill his 42 years. 42 years he ruled. I started telling you about the dictatorialship and democracy. Don't think that democracy is a great thing, because like I told you and I showed you, in a democracy, the worst of the worst, the scum of the earth, the corrupt, the people with no conscience, the people with no scruples, they're the ones who surface up. Think about it. Who do you think goes up and become these politicians? The corrupt, the people who cheated, the people who lied. Politicians do nothing but lying. That's in a democracy, that's what happens. In a dictatorship, he's there. He doesn't have to worry about someone knocking him off his position. So he wants the best for his people, and therefore, the people that are brought up are the best of the best. He gives them the best education. He gave them the best style of living, the best standard of living anywhere on earth. That's what he did. Now, is that bad? Now, what happens if you lose your job? You're going to be out there on the street. Yeah, the government's going to give you some unemployment, but then that's going to run out, and you're going to find yourself out there on the street. If you happen to get sick, it's going to wipe out all your savings. Well, this man gave his people 100% coverage of health care. And there was no shortage of doctors because he sent his people, and there were no shortage of nurses because he brought the best from all over the world. And he paid for it. He had nothing but money. There are 10 million people sitting on a sea of nothing but oil. So what did he do with the money? He could have had some lavish palaces. He did not. He could have had the best life, but he did not. He continued to live just like anyone else. Don't forget, he had the chance to run. Many countries, and he knew it. He knew that once NATO got, because he knew the plan. He talked about the plan. He told, just like we showed you last week in his speech to the Arab kings and princes and presidents, he told them, this is the plan. You coming next. Your turn is coming next. He knew that they were going to kill him. He knew they were going to destroy his country. He knew it. These presidents and kings, they knew it. He knew when NATO started bombing him that he does not stand a chance because his planes could not go up there. They knocked off all his radars. all his batteries, all his Air Force was, and he knew if he would do anything, so NATO went up there. See, that's the part that you did not see, that who actually destroyed Gaddafi and Gaddafi's regime. It was not those people that you saw in the streets. It was the planes up in the air that destroyed everything there. So when these people walked in with their guns, small guns or whatever, they walked in, very much there was hardly any resistance to speak of. You know, Tripoli, you know, the night or the day when Tripoli fell, there was no resistance, none whatsoever. Why? Because everything in Tripoli that has anything to do with Gaddafi and his army, it was destroyed from the air. Everything was destroyed. That's the part that you did not see. That's the part that the media did not tell you about. He was offered to go to other countries. He said no. He said no. He said he's going to fight until the end, until his last breath. And he did. He did. Now, the way he died is a shameful way. Is a shameful way, and it's going to be, the United States is responsible for his death. NATO countries like France, England, all these, they are responsible for his death. You have seen the pictures of Gaddafi's death. You've seen the videos. We showed you some of these videos. Actually, we had a couple of other videos, you know, where someone is actually, you know, when he was dying, they sodomized him with a steel rod while he was still standing, but he was in his last moments. Who's responsible for that? The one that went a couple of days before and said Gaddafi needs to die, which is Hillary Clinton. The one who gave the order to kill Muammar Gaddafi. It's not that he was killing his people. It was time that these countries be destroyed for Israel so Israel can prevail. That's why when Wesley Clark said, you could not find a congressman who's going to object to these Zionist Israelis taking control of our foreign policy during the first Bush administration. You could not find a congressman to say, whoa, wait a minute, foul. You can't do this. You did not find that. Maybe one, maybe Dennis Kucinich in Ohio. And maybe there's another one, but not many of them. The rest of them, because they know who the master is, and the master of this plan is Israel. We are being used by Israel. That's a democracy for you. So if you think you go and you elect your officials up there in Washington, no, you don't. Your representatives, no, you don't. You're given a choice of two that they already selected for you, and they already told them how it works. Foreign policy, it's ours. That's what the people with money. Now, who are the people with money up there in Washington? It's not you. It's the Jewish lobby in Washington that is pushing all these millions of dollars. It's the people who are making these millions of dollars. Who are making these millions of dollars? The Federal Reserve Bank. Gaddafi, by the way, talked about the Federal Reserve Bank and talked about the Israeli nuclear plant that Kennedy tried to stop. And Kennedy tried to stop both of these. He tried to stop. Kennedy wanted to abolish the Federal Reserve Bank because he knew it was not an American. He knew it was people who have no business in issuing money to the United States, for the United States. He wanted to abolish it. He died. Anyone comes close to actually oppose these people, he will die. So Muammar Gaddafi died because he stood up and opposed these people. He wanted to change the currency into a gold dinar That was the curse, because no one should have control of money but them and them alone. That's all we have for you tonight. We apologize for the videos. Good night. We'll see you next week.